Welcome to Breakfast with the Arts. This morning, for the third consecutive year, we are proud to present the winners of the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions. The Metropolitan Opera has sponsored this prestigious competition and its various incarnations since 1935, and many of the winners have gone on to illustrious careers. The grand finals concert for the 2003 auditions took place this past Sunday and was hosted by renowned bass Samuel Ramey. This year's 4 National Council audition winners were chosen on April 6th.
And now, I'd like to present the winners of the 2003 Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions. Christian Van Horn. ALYSON CAMBRIDGE. Christina PIER. MANIACI.
The 4 winners each received $15,000 in prize money, and those finalists who did not become winners received $5,000 each. But the experience for all of the singers is worth a great deal more than the cash prizes. Our first performer is bass Christian Van Horn, who represents the New England region. He received his Master of Music degree from Yale. He sang recently with the Opera Theater of St. Louis, where he will return this summer. This morning, he will sing Mozart.
Andrai farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle turbando e riposo, narcisetto arrosino d'amor, delle belle turbando e riposo, narcisetto arrosino d'amor. Non piovrai questi bei pennacchini, quel cappello leggero e galante, quella chioma, quell'aria brillante, quel vermiglio d'onesco calor, quel vermiglio d'onesco calor. Non piovrai quei pennacchini, quel cappello, quella chioma, quell'aria brillante. Non piantai farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle turbando e riposo, narcisetto arrosino d'amor, delle belle turbando e riposo, narcisetto arrosino d'amor. Fra guerrieri può far pacco, rammo sacchi stretto sacco, schiova in spalla, sciava al fianco, collo dritto, muso franco, un gran casco, un gran turbante, molto onor, poco contante, poco contante, poco contante. Ed invece del fandango una marcia per il fondo, per montagna, per valloni, con le nevi e soglioni, al concerto di tromboni, di bombarde e di canoni, e le palli in tutti i tuoni all'orecchio fan fischiar. Non piovrai quei pennacchini, non piovrai quel cappello, non piovrai quella chioma, non piovrai quell'aria brillante. Non piovrai farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando, delle belle turbando e riposo, narcisetto arrosino d'amor, delle belle turbando e riposo, narcisetto arrosino d'amor. che rovino la vittoria, alla gloria militar, che rovino la vittoria, alla gloria militar, alla gloria militar, alla gloria militar.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a seat. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
How did it feel yesterday when you sang this song, this aria, you went backstage, you waited, and then your name was announced?
It was quite a surprise. It was such an amazing group to be a part of. Just to be there alone was such an experience, to sing with the orchestra and to be on, you know, the most famous stage. It was surreal. It still hasn't quite sunk in yet.
Let's break that down a little bit. You had the Real Live Met Orchestra in front of you. What's that like?
We had a rehearsal in the week earlier, and it just sort of, you know, hit me right away. I said, I'm singing with the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra here. You know, this is a dream I never thought I would reach, especially not at my age. And it was amazing to have that kind of support underneath you. Such an amazing conductor. It was quite an experience.
You're 24. You're from New York.
That's right, native.
How did you end up liking opera, getting to know opera?
It started with a knee injury. I was an athlete in school, had a knee injury, decided to, you know, pursue music. I had been singing in the church choir when I was young, and eventually a teacher of mine, when I first started, said, "Hey, you know, you can do this for real if you want to take this serious. You can you know, really do this." And that led me to my current teacher, Richard Cross, who has, you know, been everything for me and made me what I am now. And it was after several years at Yale University, where I study, that I am sitting here.
Is your experience at Yale just in the classroom, or are there full-out productions you've been involved in?
It's a full-out opera. It's a young artist program, more or less. We do 2 fully staged productions a year, 2 evenings of scenes. We have concerts, and we all do recitals. It's quite busy. It's less in the classroom, more in the studio. And
the Mozart you sang today, is that a role
Yeah, that's a role
done?
just recently finished this past spring. We did the complete opera and was able to do the role for the first time. Felt great.
Is that the reason you chose it? I mean, you really had it under your belt.
Yeah, I mean,
you've been on stage.
Yeah, it was something that I had been working out for several months now, and something that should be, you know, regularly in my repertoire, and it felt great. Yeah.
As you may know, we were at the contest last year, and there were no basses.
That's right.
In the finals, there were 2.
The numbers were very strange. In the finals, we had 6 men and 3 women, and I know it hasn't been like that for a very long time.
Did you feel competition with the other basses? There was another bearded bass in the competition.
It couldn't have been a friendlier group. It was the ages varied so much, and where people were from, and everything was so diverse. We were really gelled in such a wonderful way. There was no competition. I didn't feel that way at all.
Oftentimes people wait for those big tenor moments, for those big high notes.
Yeah, and they came yesterday.
And they did come yesterday. But also, what was kind of a treat for us who had been there the year before is that there were these real low notes that we hadn't heard in a couple of years. Is that something you want to build in as a bass in a competition to go, hey, I can hit this?
Of course. You know, it's always the high sopranos and tenor high notes that really get the most out of the audience, and to be able to establish a bass force, it's something I'm interested in, of course.
There were 2,000 people that got whittled down to 4 yesterday. Yeah. Give me your journey. Where was the first time you entered this contest?
The first one was in the Connecticut district, and that was in New Haven, Connecticut, and I won there along with 2 others, and the 3 of us went to...
Out of how many in that first round?
25. It wasn't that many. It was just Connecticut, and we all went to New England, which all the New England states went to Boston for their finals. And there was about 70 there originally, knocked down to 20, knocked down to 10. And then I went on from there to New York. And we had 22 last weekend, down to 9 now here. The
host yesterday was Sam Raimi, a noted bass. Was that special to you to have him?
A hero of mine, of course, yeah. somebody who, the first bass I ever heard, you know, on the first bass recording I ever bought was, of course, Sam Raimi's Rossini arias, and all of a sudden, you know, my dressing room's right next to his, and we're chatting it up backstage. He was really wonderful, very, very cordial.
Here you are, a married guy at 24. You know the life of an opera singer is basically living out of a suitcase.
Yeah,
so are you ready for that?
Yeah, my wife is an opera singer too, and so she understands the life. You know, obviously there could be plenty of times where we're away, but she's so supportive and wonderful.
You said right before we went on, I asked you which was more pressure, the being in front of the Met audience or being here today.
Yeah,
How do you feel? You all right?
I'm fine.
All right, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Christian Van Horn,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
The Metropolitan Opera National Council winners on Breakfast with the Arts will continue. Breakfast with the Arts now continues with the Metropolitan Opera National Council winners. Our next winner of the 2003 Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions is soprano ALYSON CAMBRIDGE, who represents the Middle Atlantic region. She's currently working towards a Master of Music degree at the Curtis Institute of Music. This morning she will sing from Massenet's Manon. Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Have a seat.
you.
You out of breath? You need some water? How do you
I'm
feel?
doing all right. I'm doing okay.
It amazes me that you can do what you do, but I guess you got to gear up for doing this for 3, 4, 5 hours, right?
Oh, well, I don't know. I got up not too early this morning, so I had a little warm-up in the bathroom.
And you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Take me backstage. There were 9 performers during the competition. They were announcing the 4. What went through your head as they started to announce the names?
Well, honestly, throughout the whole competition, I was just more excited to be performing. And it was actually after my second piece was when the nerves kicked in, because I realized I just finished my second piece. There's nothing else I can do right now. It's totally left in the hands of the judges. At least after the first piece, you think, oh, well, if I messed up here, well, I can maybe make up for it in the second piece. And so I was backstage, and I was actually holding hands with Christina PIER. And I said, can you hold my hand? And we were just back there like this. And they called Christian's name, and I was like, oh, really happy for him. And then they said, and ALYSON CAMBRIDGE, and I just went like that. I was just so ecstatic. I was so happy.
We talked to Christian about being on the Met stage and being with the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. Turn it around from your perspective. I mean, we've got some pictures here that are around us. From being on that stage and looking out, you are the only person on stage during the competition. What does that feel like? What do you actually see?
I just see pretty much a sea of lights. I can't even see any real faces, except for when I look down into the orchestra pit, and sometimes some of the orchestra members are looking up at us. I said, oh, they're looking at me singing. And it's just an overwhelming, exciting feeling to have really, I mean, the best orchestra in the world playing with you. It's an incredible feeling. And it's just more exciting than anything.
We also mentioned earlier that people like the high notes from the tenors, they like them from the sopranos. You must have had a list somewhere of arias that I could sing, ones that I know that are good for me, ones that might impress the judges. How did it get to this particular aria, and what was the other one? It was from Bellini, the other one. How did you end up choosing these 2 for the competition?
Well, actually, I started off the competition the first round, the Philadelphia district, with a completely different list of arias. The Manon, the one I just sang, was actually what I started with in every single round. It was just an aria that when I got to Curtis, I fell in love with. It was always comfortable in my voice, and I knew it was something I wanted to start with. And then my list actually changed with each round, because the judges all had suggestions of what would sound better in my voice, what would be more impressive, more appropriate for somebody who's 23 to be singing. And so I took their advice, and I stuck with these 2 arias pretty much through to the end, and that's how I decided.
I always ask this question, being 23, I know you grew up listening to rock and roll. How did you end up going, no, this is the kind of music I want to sing?
Well, it wasn't at first the kind of music that I wanted to do. I mean, I had started out as a pianist when I was really little, but I always loved to sing. And, but I would imitate opera singers. My mom always listened to classical music around the house, and I was at a neighbor's house imitating an opera singer as a joke. And my neighbor said, you know, ALYSON, that's really not that bad. You should, you know, think about maybe taking some voice lessons. And I was only 12 years old, and
Had you been to an opera at that point?
No, I'd never been to an opera. And, you know, I went to this voice lesson, and the teacher said, she's awfully young, I don't know. And then she said, well, ALYSON, your mom tells me that you can imitate an opera singer. Why don't you do that for us? So I did it, and she said, okay, well, what kind of music do you listen to? I said, well, Madonna and Whitney Houston, and that's what I'd like to do. She says, no, no, dear, you're going to be an opera singer.
Where do you go from here? What's next for you?
Well, I have 1 more year to do my master's still, and hopefully maybe I'll go into a young artist program, maybe the Met Young Artist Program if they'll have me, who knows. And then, you know, get on the big stage and start performing.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
ALYSON CAMBRIDGE, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
The Metropolitan Opera National Council winners on Breakfast with the Arts will continue. Breakfast with the Arts now continues with the Metropolitan Opera National Council winners. Our next performer is male soprano Michael MANIACI, who represents the Eastern region. Recent engagements include appearances with the New York City Opera and the Houston Grand Opera. He now sings Handel.
Splenda
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Michael, thanks so much. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Congratulations on winning the competition.
Thank you very much.
How did you feel when you were backstage and you heard your name?
I was very excited. It was a wonderful experience. I mean, just to be there and to sing with that orchestra and to sing in that space was prize enough. And to hear my name was just unreal, really.
Now, I have to tell you, like a lot of people, I'd not heard the term male soprano. I'd heard countertenor. What's the difference?
Well, I call myself a male soprano because when my voice changed, it stayed where it was and matured in the register that I'd been singing as a boy soprano. So I sing a repertoire that is slightly higher than most countertenor repertoire. So rep that was basically written for soprano castrati back in Handel's time. And that's why I call myself a male soprano.
You know, it's so interesting to me because we were talking earlier, so many of the soprano roles in opera are sung by women as men.
Right.
So do you plan to sort of reverse that trend and go back to playing the roles that are normally played by women or normally men, but played by a man, singing a man?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a difference between some pants roles that were intentionally written for women to perform and those that weren't, that were written for castrati, such as Idamante ni Damaneo, and roles such as that. So I very much hope to stake a claim on those roles in the future.
I don't know whether you could hear it, but there was a slight kind of gasp almost. You took the audience very much by surprise yesterday. Are you used to that kind of reaction?
Well, I have to be ready for almost anything, because I'm sure it's a shock.
You had sung as a kid. You talked about being a boy soprano. When did you first come to singing in your life?
Well, I grew up singing in church, like a lot of people, and I quickly started doing a lot of musical theater as a young boy, and I was also singing as a boy soprano. So kind of a juxtaposition between professional singing and more musical theater style singing. In fact, I had every hope of being a Broadway baby for the rest of my life. I had aspirations of, you know, hitting the stage 8 times a week. And then when it came time for my voice to change and it didn't drop, and that pretty much ended that.
There was really, you don't think, I guess you couldn't have done this on Broadway, I suppose.
Not really. There aren't many roles, of course.
Was that a disappointment, or did you greet it at some point?
Well, at first, I mean, it kind of, you know, just had to alter things. But I then, of course, fell in love with opera and classical music even more. And I can't complain. It's been absolutely amazing.
There must have been teachers at some point who said, you've got a very unusual gift, let me help you with that. How did that happen?
Well, I was very fortunate, as a matter of fact, because, you know, it was rather controversial that here I was in high school still singing like a woman. And there were those that said, no, you should be singing like a man. You should be lowering your voice. This isn't right. And thankfully,
did you try at some point? Was there a moment where you
I did The Princess and the Pea, Prince Dauntless, and I tried to sing it down, and it was a disaster, and it was just horribly embarrassing. But thankfully, I had a voice teacher at the time that, you know, convinced me that that is where I needed to stay, and she really saved my voice as far as that's concerned.
So now that you've won this competition, I mean, first of all, tell me what that means to you. That's such a stamp of approval from the Met and from the establishment in opera.
Well, having such an unusual instrument to receive this support and this opportunity from such a company as the Met, which is, of course, one of the country's biggest and most prestigious companies, and that spends most of their time doing very mainstream repertoire. To receive that kind of validation as having an unusual voice is a privilege and something that I certainly won't take for granted, and I'm quite thankful.
Michael MANIACI, best of luck to you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
The Metropolitan Opera National Council winners on Breakfast with the Arts will continue. Breakfast with the Arts now continues with the Metropolitan Opera National Council winners. The final winner this morning is soprano Christina PIER, who represents the tri-state region. A candidate for a master's degree at Indiana University, she has sung with the Santa Fe Opera, and this summer will participate in Glimmerglass Opera's Young Artist Program. Now she will sing Mozart.
Propolis mia
Christina, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you here, and congratulations.
Thank you.
On winning the competition.
Thanks.
I'll start the way I've started all morning here. What did it feel like when you were backstage and you heard your name announced?
It was a dream come true. It was just an amazing, amazing moment. It was surreal.
Tell me where it started for you. As we've been mentioning, there were 2,000 people that entered before. Where did you start this competition?
I started this competition in Bloomington, Indiana, where I'm a student at Indiana University, and from there.
How many in competition at that point?
I believe somewhere between 26 to 29, somewhere in that area.
And you won that?
I did, right. There were, I believe, 3 winners who went on then to the tri-state regions and competed there, and then came on to New York. So
the finals on the stage in New York was not the first time you had been on the stage. For the semifinals, you were also.
We were the week before on stage with piano.
And was that the very first time you'd ever been on the stage of the Met?
It was. To be honest, we snuck back there on the Faust set the week before. A few of us kind of walked out there so we could have my oh my gosh experience. And then that morning we were kind of allowed to go on stage and sing a scale just to kind of have our oh my gosh, I'm on the stage of the Met.
You got to get over there, right?
Absolutely.
I've been on the stage at Carnegie Hall and a couple of Broadway theaters, and there is a moment where
there absolutely is a moment.
You got to go, I'm really here, and then you got to forget it.
Right.
Talk to me about, we haven't talked about this at all, the coaching you got during the competition directly from the Met.
It was fantastic, just unbelievable. Mr. Darden and also Linda
terrific
Hall.
Pianist and accompanist this morning is
amazing.
More than that.
Right, absolutely. And so we worked with Miss Hall and Mr. Darden several times in preparation for the first round, and then throughout the week kind of had coachings again with Mr. McClintock, and then finally with Mr. Crudele, and we're able to kind of put it together for the Sitzprobe on Friday with the orchestra, which for most of us was really, I think a lot of us really just wanted to get to that point, whether we won or lost yesterday. Just the experience of singing with the Met Orchestra was kind of our goal, and
Sitzprobe?
Sitzprobe. It actually means sitting rehearsal, and there's also a Wandelprobe, which means wandering rehearsal.
I see.
Where you kind of do the blocking.
So the first time with the Met Orchestra was when?
Last Friday. So
and they're just as fantastic as they sound in recordings and on the Met broadcasts and everything. Wonderful group.
And winning this competition, what does that mean to you? What do you think it'll really do for you?
It means the world in terms of exposure, and I just feel completely humbled by it, you know, to be able to be among such fabulous singers, all 9 singers, and even in the semifinals, there really was such great talent there and such wonderful people, and it's just a dream come true. My high school choir director told me at graduation, he said, "I'll see you at the Met, kid," and I've carried that with me ever since.
It worked.
So, thanks.
Christina PIER, congratulations.
It's a pleasure. Thanks very much.